How's it going, doggy people? I hope you all are doing well. Today we're going to cover a video by Tom Davis, America's Canine Educator, or Academy, or whatever he wants to call himself. Talking about how this dog growls when you pet him. So another dog handling video. If you haven't seen Randy, I think was another one where there was a Shiba that didn't like being handled, and I go over the things that I would have done in that situation versus what did go on. So I'm going to do the same thing for this video.
All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get a muzzle out, and I'm going to start going over how to do some body handling work.
First off, he's using a Baskerville muzzle, which I do appreciate. We want everybody to be safe, but at the same time, we don't put on a muzzle and then expect to... I don't like it when people abuse the power of a muzzle, because a muzzle like this means the dog cannot bite you. But that means that we can then take advantage of the animal by petting them, like you saw with Randy, the little Shiba, if that was his name, I believe so. But anyway, you can put this on, then you're basically handcuffing him and saying, okay, now I can harass you and assault you all I want to, and you can't bite me. You just have to put up with it, because we also have a slip lead. I'm sure this guy who loves his prong collars will probably have a prong collar on this dog. I don't know what he's going to do. I haven't seen it. We will see. But be very careful about, especially with shelters out there, be careful with the information you are given, especially for free by so-called dog trainers.
With a dog that can be pretty snippy with body handling. If we didn't like the rear end, it'd be 1, 2, 3. Good job.
So this dog is already... So we have him here. He has his slip lead on. If I'm going to be handling a dog, I don't want to have any collar, or I don't want to have any leash on him. Yeah, I might have what is this? I might have a muzzle on him, just him or her, just for safety, but I don't expect to be bitten if I'm going to be teaching a dog to be handling. If I expect to be bitten from handling, then I'm working way too fast. I don't care if it's for a demonstration for a shelter or not. You should be teaching them the slow way. Yes, I know that there's, risk and this and that. Then, look, I know all about the whole shelter game. I know about, no kill versus, kill and all that. And the shelters that are doing their best, I mean, I'm not against shelters by any means. It's just we need to show more appropriate manners of working with these dogs that doesn't require all this special technique and these things. If we're working for the dog's sake, then we need to work for the dog's sake. So all that to say that I wouldn't have a slip lead on. They could be dragging it. I don't care. It's not going to be attached to me. And, when he touched the dog, they went to go sit, showing me they're probably a little bit uncomfortable. They have a closed mouth. It looks like they're looking at him. They're trying to avoid him. He's looking at this dog. Everybody always looks at the face of the animal. We're being predatory. We're being creepy. We're, primitive. We're scaring the dog. So if I were to come over here, first off, I wouldn't worry about the muzzle being on, because I would just sit next to the dog. If the dog's cool with me sitting there, then I might move my hand over here. If the dog's cool with that, awesome. Then I might rub the back of my hand, brush it against their little arm and move it away. And if they try to snap at me, okay, that's too quick. Then I'll just get used to them having my hand next to them. Every time my hand goes next to them doesn't mean that I'm going to be touching them. And they can even pair it with, oh, it's a good thing. So with him, he kind of has to pair touching with a good thing, because if he doesn't, then he is smart enough to know that if you pair it with something like a correction, then eventually the dog will say, unless you have this collar and you're going to correct me when you're touching me, I'm going to bite you. And the dog is just saying, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like people touching me because I don't trust it.
And then ideally you would want to pay at the same time. So I'll show you what that looks like.
The dog's still trying to get the muzzle off, so he takes the muzzle off, okay? Because he's trying to get the treat.
You'd have your food here. Good. And you'd wherever good. And then
So the way he's doing this, I'm not necessarily against it, but at the same time, I don't really like this method. See, I have good things to say about him too, but most of them are not. The one time he uses his treat pouch because he has to. So whenever you're working with a dog like this, when you're giving them food in one hand and then you're petting them with the other hand, you're being sneaky. In my opinion, I don't necessarily like that, because the dog can be so distracted by the food, then they feel something touching them, they freak out, and they turn around, redirect on you, and bite at you. And then they learn a bad lesson. Can I still do that where I hold a treat and then I let them see that I'm going to be touching them? Sure. But I want them to see that I'm going to be touching them. Or I could just have a treat here and just bring my hand close and touch and move away. Have the back of my hand just literally touch them and move away. That's pressure and release. Have some treats here on the ground they can be eating. You could have a licky mat that you put some peanut butter on. Okay, so we're going to go back and look at this because he had his hand there, so I don't know if this dog's going to smell or if it's going to go bite at him. But when working with the dog, you kind of want to think of it as when I'm working with a fearful dog, although they are predators, they have teeth, they have eyes on the front of their face, they have instincts different than a prey animal. I work with them a lot as if I would a prey animal, say a horse, donkey, llama, whatever. Even a rabbit. Pressure and release. So this dog is looking this way. If you're looking down at the dog, it's putting pressure on them. If I want to go touch a dog, like I'm trying to catch a horse and put a harness on them, or a halter, sorry, not a harness, then I might move my hand here and move away, and then reward. Move my hand a little closer, move it away, reward. Now I want to do that until the dog is able to sit there calmly, and I can walk around the dog, waving my arms, and the dog learns, oh, okay, this person's going to walk around, make weird movements around me, but they're not hurting me. And then eventually I can get closer and closer where I can touch them. I'm not trying to be sneaky. I want them to know, hey, I'm just going to come touch your shoulder here with the back of my hand. My knuckles are just going to, boop, touch you nice and calm. I'm going to move away. I'm going to give you a treat. Or I could have a licky mat while they're licking it, wet food or peanut butter, safe peanut butter for dogs, the type that doesn't have the xylitol in it. We can just touch a little bit and move away. But I want them to know that I'm going to be touching them. So I'll be talking to them and say, hey, buddy, and maybe, just moving my hand quickly across their back, or maybe just have it next to their body or next to the food, and then we can also see and test, are they a resource guarder? Because that's a whole different can of worms that we can still work on, and I would do the same thing. Desensitizing, strategic desensitization. So all that saying that I don't have a problem with how he's doing this here. I would just say be kind of careful about when you're feeding the dog and going underhand. I would rather go underhand than overhand for a dog, for any fearful animal, because you're more intimidating going overhand. But when you're touching them, don't surprise them. Let them know what's going to happen. And don't leave your hand there too much and pet, 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 because that's too much pressure. You're building up that anxiety, and then they bite, and that's when they get you to move away, being release.
Do the rear end.
Okay, cool. So this dog seems pretty cool around him, around food. Could it be because he has a slip lead? I don't know. But he has the slip lead locked, too. So that's also something where there's constant pressure on this dog's little neck. So the dog knows when the collar's on. But he had his hand down there after he gives him this food.
Good. And then
he touched him.
Do the rear end.
He went to go touch again. The dog kind of looked around like, hey, what was that? And then he wanted to go check out the food. So there could have been a snap, but there wasn't. So that was good.
The other thing you could do is like a lick mat.
Awesome.
Lick mat down. Let them work it out.
I did not know he was going to be talking about a lick mat. So here, again, while he's moving with his hands, I would be rewarding. The dog is like, hey, you have something in your hand? Because I want the dog to know that I can make quick movements around their body, and that doesn't mean I'm touching them, and it doesn't mean it's something scary. Just like if I make quick movements on their body to touching them, we work our way up to that. Then they also don't have to be fearful and nervous. I can make an example of this if you'd like. Basically just showing you that, hey, I can move my hands around your body really quick, and then that will later on transfer to I can touch you slowly, calmly, move away, this and that. Over time, we can, pat you and scrub you and scritch you and make it feel good and whatnot. So I will say, overall, this was actually one of the few videos that I don't have a problem with this guy. I know it's going to be a little bit shocking. There's other stuff I talk about, but I don't have a main issue with how he is demonstrating this right now for the shelter. I think that's great. Just be careful and don't get too quick when you're working with the dog that you want to get, I was able to pet them a little bit, for 1 second, let me get 3 seconds, let me get 4 seconds, let me get 5 seconds in between treats. You're going to get greedy. Trust me, all humans do it. It's just a fact of nature that everything is greedy. And so you want to get more, and you're going to have a setback. If you have a setback and the dog were to snap, it's not the end of the world. Trust me, it's going to feel like it, but it's not, because you can fix it. Just learn from it. What did you do? You went too fast. You worked too far. You did too much at once. So go back and do less next time. So that'll do it for this one. For once, I'm not actually hating on this guy, entirely. And it's nothing personal. It's just, I really don't like the main method 99% of the time that he's training. I think it's very dangerous. But this, I will say, firsthand, is I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. I would prefer not to have the dang slip lead on, as tight as it is. You can have it loose. That's why it's called slip lead. It's, can slip to be tighter and looser, more comfortable for the dog. But, I don't see a problem with this. So, Not that anybody cared about my opinion, but there it is. So that does it for this video. You have my 10 cents that nobody ever asked for. I know I talk a lot, but I thought this was just a great little video to go over for education purposes. So if you liked it, then feel free to like the video. If you didn't like it, you can dislike the video, leave a comment if you want to, subscribe if you'd like to. Let me know what you would like to see next time, and until then, stay positive.